I'ma keep winning, winning. I'ma keep winning, winning. Ooh. I'ma keep winning, winning. You can try to save yourself, I'ma keep winning, but you only go.
What's going on, guys? JK, I'm back with another video, and today I'm going to be reacting to Mel Kiper's Day 2 value picks, which are the guys that he thinks are going to be a lot more value for teams to take in the second and third rounds of the draft. But before we get into it, please make sure to like the video, comment down below anything you agreed or disagreed with that I discussed in here and talked about, and make sure to subscribe to the channel for future NFL content I'm going to be putting out with the drafts, mock drafts, NFL free agency coming up, the combine, pro day, stuff like that. Please make sure to subscribe to keep up with all that stuff that I'm going to be putting out. So these are all guys that Mel Kiper thinks that could either fall to the second round or that are going to be available at least in the second or third round, which is the day two. The NFL draft is coming up with this class, and people that he thinks are going to be very valuable for teams to take that could potentially develop into something to be able to kind of be that sleeper that a lot of guys could end up stealing from other teams. But getting into this, the first guy they really talk about is Tyler Schott, who is a guy from Louisville who started at Purdue and then transferred to Louisville with Jeff Brom. I watched a lot of them being from Louisville, and he's a guy that really he didn't really make a lot of mistakes, as you can see with the stats 23 and 6. He does have a decent arm, and most of the time he did have a little bit of ability. Like he can move, and he's pretty athletic, a sneaky athletic guy from what you would think. And he can really move the pocket a little bit and make some plays. And it's really every once in a while, he just doesn't really have that huge athletic and playmaking ability. He does have a nice arm, and he doesn't really make a lot of dumb mistakes and a lot of interceptions. If he goes to the right situation and a team that's like loaded, and I'm trying to think off the top of my head right now what would be a good fit for him. Maybe like the Rams in a very good system with a Puka or somebody like that. Maybe the Rams were able to take him the second or third round. If he goes somewhere like that in a situation like that, he might be able to succeed and win some games to be able to just manage the game. Kind of like how Brock Purdy ended up with the 49ers, in my opinion. If you go to something like that, a situation that West Coast style where they can run the ball, run the outside zone, and he can kind of just maintain the game most of the time, he could end up being a late round steal. And I don't hate him. It's just you're pretty much taking a shot. I do think the third rounds are a little bit high for him. They were talking about in the video that third round's pretty perfect for him. I would wait maybe a fourth, maybe even I would take him more in that fifth round, in my opinion, if I'm taking a shot on him. But it is a quarterback, so the upside, if you hit on it, the upside's there. If you don't hit on it in the fourth or fifth round, it's not as big of a deal. But this is one of the few quarterbacks that could have value in a weaker quarterback class that could end up, rising up and being able to be a pick and a steal for some teams. Usually in weak quarterback classes, a mid-round guy usually ends up being pretty good and pops off. But that's one of the main guys that they talked about. The second guy that they talked about that I kind of wanted to bring up was Isaiah Bond. Isaiah Bond was a different one. He started at Alabama last year and then he transferred to Texas this year. He was kind of the main guy at the beginning of the year, and I think that he was kind of seen as a first round pick at one point in this year. And then he ends up having the ankle injury and coming back from the ankle injury. Once he comes back, he wasn't as consistent as he once was. And other receivers started to step up, like Matthew Golden, who is expected to be a first round pick. And I think it's really going to matter with him at the combine because he has blazing speed. If he can come out and get close to that record and run an incredible 40, I think teams are going to start getting him more on the radar again. It's just after the ankle injury, once he came back from it this year, he wasn't as consistent. He had some drops, and he really was a great playmaker with the ball in his hands. If you got the ball up quick and just got it in his hands, magical things happen. And this could be a late like a day two receiver that a lot of teams can end up taking that could add a lot of value and be a nice little slot guy for some of these teams that need more weapons. I, off the top of my head, I think he could work perfect with the Bills and Josh Allen. Somebody like that, maybe a Ravens take a late round stab at him in round two or early third. Maybe somebody moves up. But he was definitely seen as a first round guy, and then he kind of fell off a little bit after the injury. And then Matthew Golden and some other receivers started to kind of overshine him. He still has the talent. He's just got to build that consistency back up. And he was somebody that really struggled because of that injury and kind of fell down some boards. And then the third guy, kind of talking about. is this tight end class. This is a very stacked tight end class. This could be the steal of the draft, in my opinion. He's a huge target. Elijah Aurora from Miami with Cam Ward. He was Cam Ward's main target. He had almost 600 yards, 7 touchdowns. As you can see in Mel Kiper, Mel Kiper has a first round grade on him, and he's kind of seen as the third tight end at the Senior Bowl. He kind of rose into that over Harold Perkins from Bowling Green, but Elijah Aurora definitely is. He's that massive target. Kind of reminds me of Kyle Pitts, just not as dominant at the college level. And he really put together this year. He's been there for the last 3 years. In the last 2 years, he hasn't really done much. But Cam Ward comes in, he starts using his big body tight ends. That offensive system kind of starts clicking once they get some more weapons. And then he kind of steps in. He makes a major impact in there at the tight end spot. With this class being so loaded at tight end, someone's going to get great value in day two, maybe even day three with some of these tight ends to be able to slot in and be able to play right away. Because this class is definitely interesting with the certain positions and how much depth that there is, especially at D line, tight end, running back. Those type of positions that aren't usually valued like tight end and running back, that kind of teams pass on because of the value. This could be a weird draft that a lot of people are going to end up taking those positions high because they see the talent in them, and there's not much talent in other areas on in the draft. But he's a guy that I really love with his big body, his speed. Kind of reminds me of Kyle Pitts. And then the last guy I want to talk about is Jared Wilson. Really talked about this could be a sneaky offensive lineman. He's the number one center ranked on Mel Kiper's board. He was a guy that had to work hard and earn his way up. He wasn't really highly recruited out of high school. It was somebody that a lot of them overlooked, and he kind of had to go to a JUCO. Then he sat and waited at Georgia, and then he ends up getting his chance this year, and he kind of meshed together and actually played very well. He shows great athleticism, and he's able to climb up to the second level a lot. It's mostly his instincts that's the issue right now. And that mostly comes with playing. He didn't really put this is his first full year as a starter, so he didn't really get much playing time at Georgia until this year. So those instincts will come along and develop over time, but he definitely has the talent and the athletic ability to be able to play center, and somebody could easily take him. I know centers are a devalued position, kind of like running back and tight end. They're usually, if you're going offensive line, you're trying to get a guard or especially a tackle. So centers are kind of the least valuable of the few. But Gray Zabel is probably the number one center if you end up drafting him as a center. But Jared Wilson's definitely the number one true center that's already been playing it, and he's kind of had to work hard over the last couple of years, earn his right, and be able to show off his athletic ability. Hopefully, so whoever drafts him can develop him with those instincts and be able to see the game a little bit slower and be able to get the vision on some of them stunts. But somebody in day two is definitely going to get a great interior piece. Maybe the Chicago Bears, somebody like that, being able to take him in round three. And then talking with Emory Jones. Emory Jones is another offensive lineman in this class that at the beginning of the year in the offseason, kind of like James Pierce and Isaiah Bond, he was seen as a first round pick. A lot of people had him in the top 10. He didn't have the greatest year. He ended up coming to the Senior Bowl. He ended up having some pretty crazy, clips of that a lot of people seen of him kind of getting bullied and beaten right off the edge. But he was able to step back into it at the Senior Bowl and be able to win the next rep. He has that attitude and he plays with that, aggressiveness that you want your offensive lineman to. And he's probably going to go around the third round. He's 6'6", 315. Oh, some people were talking about him playing guard. I don't necessarily see him at guard. I think he's athletic enough to stay out the tackle and kind of be a franchise right tackle for somebody. Maybe the Jets want to take him in the second or third round. After the Jets could easily go Tyler Warren in the first or a edge piece, then tight end in the second, and then Emory Jones in the third to be able to slide in at that right tackle that they don't have. So he definitely could be. He has all the talent in the world, seen as a first round pick. So he definitely does have that pedigree of talent that everybody's been watching the last couple of years. He just kind of got to piece it together and kind of just be more consistent in this play. And then the last guy I'm talking about is Nick Scorington. Scorington, he ended up popping off last year at Purdue. And whenever he did pop off at last year at Purdue, he ended up transferring to Texas A&M to go to a bigger school and bigger platform to prepare himself to be able to make a bigger name for himself in the draft. But whenever he got to Texas A&M, he definitely made a huge presence at Texas A&M, even though his numbers went down. You could definitely see his ability to be able to make second decisions at the defensive line, whether it's run or pass. If it's run, he's able to make a quick decision and kind of chase it down from the backside. And he's somebody, in my opinion, Mel Kiper has him here, and he says that he could fall to the second round. He has him ranked as the number 2 DN and the 27th best player. I do think he's going to go in the first round, so I don't necessarily think he's going to be available for a lot of these teams here. But I do think that he is going to be a great edge player. Now, I don't think he's going to be this huge sack guy that's going to put up crazy sack numbers. Like, he's never going to go and be in the top 5 for in the league in sacks. But kind of like Shamir Stewart, his partner in crime at Texas A&M, is going to be picked higher than him based on the upside and the potential that he's shown at the Senior Bowl. But Nick Scorington, he's definitely going to be a great edge player that's going to be able to defend and run and be able to get after the quarterback and create pressures. Even though his numbers weren't too high, and last year he had a lot more at Purdue. A team is definitely going to be getting a solid defensive lineman. He may be even able to kick inside to the interior instead of playing edge, but some teams definitely going to get a great run defender and pass rusher that they're going to be able to add to their team. I don't think that he's going to be able to fall to the second round. I think a team in the late first is going to end up taking him. So I don't think they're really going to get a chance. But if he does, he's just going to fall down boards and probably go into the early second that somebody's just going to take best player available and best player on the boards at that point. And he had 37 tackles, so he had a whole lot of tackles. He played more just of that pure natural edge instead of that just straight go get the pass rusher type guy. But those are the main guys I want to talk about that had a lot of day 2 values for some teams to be able to take. Please make sure to like the video, comment down below anything you agreed or disagreed with that I talked about, and make sure to subscribe to the channel for future NFL content I'm going to be putting out. And thanks for watching.
Yeah, feel like John Moran. Need a triple double. Told him check the stats. Yeah, I got a couple. I don't drop the ball. Now I never fumble. I'm the MVP. Now I feel like Russell. Feel like John Moran. Need a triple double.